Hey guys, welcome back. So week two's deck is now displayed here. So this is what we took and have played in the F&M, which was last night. I am a little bit behind. I took a week off just because I didn't have time to manage to get down to the F&M. So nothing has been changed. It was a week two, straight in, job done. The unfortunate thing is with both the recording when it came to the week one and week two's games was that at the time we had massive camera troubles, so I ended up having no footage whatsoever being captured. But hopefully I found a way to fix that. In the meantime, however, I can kind of go through what we did. So week one with the original base deck, what we had, we only had 3 rounds and we went 1 and 2. In most cases, our matchups were pretty close. They were about. It kind of came down to the final game for both of them. In most cases, the major deciding factor for the base deck, which is why we kept 4 of them in the main deck, is the Daybreak Chimera. Daybreak Chimera is actually kind of a sleeper card, and in week two's games, it actually has it's a hidden kind of issue that a lot of people don't realise, and it's one thing I have a massive complaint with for general card design, but in this case it was a benefit for us. But that's week 2, this is week 1, so in a minute I'll put our polls up and kind of go through what we got there. But in the end, the major thing that came down from our previous build essentially was that we could play a lot of little guys, but there was no kind of push through. It was, if you didn't get Elspeth or you didn't get Daybreak Chimera, you were kind of stuck doing very little. I mean, and we had no sideboard, so we couldn't do anything sideboard-wise. So week 2, we came in with this. So, with this deck, we've added in our Daxos number 2. We've added in our promo Alseid of Life's Bounty. And our promo Taranika. So we've got those 2 Taranikas there to go with kind of the rest of the package. We also added in our theme boosters, Victory's Envoy. Now, if you don't know what Victory Envoy does, It's actually kind of a sleeper card. I feel it's pretty good, if not just a little bit slow. Other things we did add into it was our 2 Banishing Lights and our 1 Heliod's Punishment. And for week 2, we had a sideboard. The sideboard's kind of mediocre right now. So the sideboard is 2 Archon of Falling Stars, 2 Nyxborn Coursers, 3 Hero of the Winds of Revoke Existence, Reverent Hoplite, 2 Dreadful Apathies, 2 Heliod Pilgrims, and 2 Flicker of Fate. Now, for week 2, I can say happily, and this is why they're all stuck at the back, the only time we sideboarded was we sided these 6 cards in. They're the only cards I ever touched. They're the cards I felt that were the most powerful for what we needed, because you had 2 pieces for control, 2 for stopping removal, and 2 cards to make sure that we can get to our blocking pieces, or get to our control pieces, which are Heliod's Punishment and Dreadful Apathy. It also means you can get to Indomitable Will, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. I do feel that for week 3 we're going to cut it. It's not doing well. The things that came out for the 6, though, in my opinion, I every time chose the 3 Phalanx Tactics and the 3 Karametra's Blessing. I don't... In the games where I lost was due to control, which in our 4 matches, we went 2-2. So the 2 matches we lost where we did side, it was normally because there was a lot of kill spells going through and a lot of control aspects, but there wasn't any chance to use the push through of Karametra's Blessing to kind of help heal a creature, kind of keep it on board. And the Phalanx Tactics win con bonus was not really needed. But on week 2 subject, the standout card realistically for the deck was Elspeth. So, Elspeth, I feel this Elspeth is one of those ones which is, if I could try, we might have to try and hunt down for a second one. The only way of getting 2 is via a collector booster, which is completely out of our price range and is a chance, or for week 3 and 4's sealed, we have to kind of hold off, save a little bit of money back to buy a second Planeswalker deck, just so we can get that second Elspeth. The problem is, though, that's a lot of money going on just this card, because the rest of the deck itself is pretty much useless for us right now, because we don't really... Having a third Taranika would be good. We can get Taranika from normal boosters, so pulling a Taranika is not a problem. We don't need any more Sunlight Hoplites. We've got the entire package. Daxos is something we would like, but again, it's an uncommon from the main set. We don't really need it. So it's one of those ones. What a kind of an opinion would be great of. Do you think going for the Planeswalker deck, buying an out Planeswalker deck for a second Elspeth, is worth it, or should we go into another option, which I'll bring it up to in a minute? So, like I said, 4 rounds we played in FNM. Round 1, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was another mono-white deck. It was based around Flyer. So we had a little bit of trouble with trying to get past a lot of things until Daybreak Chimera came down. And then Daybreak Chimera kind of swept it up and kept going from there. Game 2 was where it got a little bit squiffy for us. Essentially, games 1 and 4, we were playing against people who were kind of playing a little bit of a lower tier deck. They were playing kind of rogue lists, or they were playing stuff that they're just kind of starting out. While with round 2 and 3, we were playing against people who have either bought a lot of the set, know deck construction, and of course don't have any restrictions on what they can play, like we do. So, round 2 was against Mardu, and to be fair, it was the game I really wanted to capture on camera, and really tried hard, because it was an absolute amazing game, where it was back and forth, and it did go down again to game 3. And it all came down to that. Game 1, we completely got trashed. We lost all of our creatures to Mortify, and then got smashed by Croxus, the red-black Elder Titan. mainly because Hushbringer turns it off. So it's a brilliant combo. I absolutely adored seeing it because I do love Hushbringer. It's something fierce. And if you check out my Instagram, I did pull a foil French one of those that I would love to try and use at some point. But that's later on down the line. That was where we kind of did the first sideboard thing where this was useless, but Dreadful Apathy was really good. And so was Banishing Light. Do you know what's really good when someone's got a Kroxa on board? Top decking Banishing Light and then seeing them do nothing for the next 2 turns. It does wonders. In the end, game 3, it was literally, I was top decking, trying to get all my removal pieces, all my blocking pieces, and they just kept grabbing more and more good pieces that were higher than 2 power, which is essentially most of our deck, and slammed it in for the win, which is fine. Again, I'm not expecting much from this deck for the first few weeks of this, because at the same time, this is still got quite a lot of, as I would call it, draft chaff. I mean, Karamatcha's Blessing and Indomitable Will are 2 cards that right now are ready to be cut. If we have a reason to get rid of these 7 cards, to be fair, Phalanx Tactics might go to a sideboard. If we can find a way of getting rid of them, they're going to go. Hero of the Pride is also on the chopping block. So if we get 2 more Daxos, I think I want to probably put a couple more Daxos, or an Alcide of Life's Bounty, he's gone. He doesn't do enough, because essentially he's all about the heroic trigger from Old Theros, which is whenever you cast a spell that targets him, he gets it +1. The amount of cards we have in our deck that do that is 3 in this build. I never saw any of those 3 and wanted to target Hero of the Pride. So, to me, Hero of the Pride is kind of pointless. Game 3 was against I'm going to call it a Sultai Planeswalker friend deck, because it revolved around key Planeswalkers to just annihilate me. Now, that one was a complete clean sweep. There was no closeness about that. It involved using Ashiok to start exiling my deck. And to be fair, there's not a lot of things it can exile. Mainly it exiled our basic lands of all 20... it exiled, I think, at least a good 10 of our 23. And then it was kind of a very slow game of keeping Elspeth alive, Elspeth being damaged, until eventually we got overrun. And game 2 was even worse, because they played New Garruk from Throne of Eldraine, got the Wolves out, I could block the Wolves, try and stop Garruk, and then eventually it was just too many things with the +3/+3 emblem. So we got completely run over. That's fine. Again, the deck itself is poles apart from this deck here, because it is so many really good cards from the entirety of Standard. Like, I think even the mana base is worth more than just our deck entirely. That brings us to round 4, where our opponent was playing kind of a mixture of Jund cards, so red, black and green. Mainly black, so game 1, he kept playing a lot of Death Touch guys. This is where Sunlight Hotplate was a really good card. And Sunlight Hotplate has one bit of text which I almost forgot during the round, to be honest, which is, as long as it's your turn, it's got First Strike. So you can bait out Death Touch blockers, because people don't see First Strike up there, they just see a line of text. And you can just start taking them down, chipping them down. So that one was a bit of a slower game, but we ended up probably swinging with, I think it was swing with Daybreak Chimera for the win. Game 2 of that one showed the extreme power of this deck, and I wanted to try and experiment with it because I had a brilliant board position that I could try and do it. It was Elspeth, one of the devotees, it didn't really matter which one it was, Victory's Envoy, I think he had a couple Hoplites, and a Daxos. The opponent kept trying to attack through, trying to get past and try and hit us or Elspeth. I just allowed it to keep going through to me. So I went down to about 13. I then triggered Elspeth with the mentioned card on board. So Victory's Envoy triggered, so 1/1 counters, we had 1/1 counters on everything. Then Envoy triggered on the upkeep to give everyone else a 1/1 counter. Then we used Elspeth's Ultimate. Now Elspeth's Ultimate is a really easy ultimate to go off because it only needs 2 activations of Elspeth +2, which is really powerful on its own, to then make it available. And it's until end of turn, creatures you control gain flying and +X, where X is your devotion to white. Now, the fact that she's already got 3 is good. I had 12 with 4 creatures because it was Envoy, Daxos, Devotee, Hero of the Pride, and then I played Eidolon of Inspiration on the turn. So Eidolon of Inspiration gives +2 to something for that turn. Everyone else goes off, so it became... Essentially, I just gave him the option of it's 48 flying, then there's the rest of it. I think it calculated to be around the 60 damage mark, all flying, and some of it first striking. Obviously, the guy scooped it up. There was no way of him blocking it. He had nothing but ground creatures. But it kind of demonstrated to me the fact that the deck has got a sleeper win condition that is very hard to beat, because there's not a lot of flying decks that I've seen currently. With these two, it takes a long time to set up between Victory's Envoy and Elspeth, but it could do work. So I think that's where we're going to try and go down to. We're going to probably cut a few of the bits and pieces, make it a bit more control-y, so we can then get to a position where we can ultimate Elspeth and have all of our guys just go run rampage. So yeah, week 2. Week 2. It went 2 wins, 2 losses. So we're up another game from our last one of 1 and 2. So we're getting there slowly. So we've lost 4, 1, 3. So we're kind of almost breaking 50-50 right now, which is more than I would ever expect of this kind of deck. Especially because it's only been this is only week 2 and we're already kind of breaking even. But we'll see how it plays out as time goes on. But we didn't manage to get our prizes, so we don't know if we got anything good right now, but we'll hopefully see it before we hit F&M for week 3. But let's see what we've got to play with for week 3. Hopefully we get something good. Okay, after those kind of sick pulls, this is what we have got going into week 3. So, even though we got 2 more Daxos, they are not in the main deck. I've decided to keep those 2 in our sideboard. So, let me just grab the sideboard out so you can kind of see it's changed a little bit. We have got Commanding Presence as a one-off, Revoke Existence as a one-off, 2 Triumphant Surge. Now, this isn't in the main deck because I feel it is too high, like too much mana cost to go in for killing something. And also, we're not always going to be fighting against things which are going to be 4 or greater power. So sideboard cards, if we do see anything, any big boys like Hydra Crisis or any of the Titans, side in straight away. 2 Dawn Evangels. Now, Dawn Evangels is a really weird card. I personally think it's at best okay. It says whenever a creature dies, if an attachment you controlled was attached to it, return target creature card with convert mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Now, it's whenever a creature dies with an enchantment attached to it, or attached. So it means that our Heliod's Punishment and our Dreadful Apathy becomes really good, because if it's something managed to kill them, or something like that, we'll get a trigger from Dawn Evangel. But he's only in the sideboard because it's such a situational trigger. Our 2 Heliod Pilgrims are in there. They still don't make the main deck yet, but they probably will go in quite consistently over, for example, Lagona Band Storyteller, which we'll get into in a minute. 2 Flicker of Fate, it's too good. Here are the 2 other Daxos. I was going to put them into the main board, but I couldn't find the room. And I felt because he is still a legendary, getting clogged up with 4 of the main deck might not be great. So we'll try it with 2, try it and then sideboard maybe to 4 to see what happens. And then 3 Phalanx Tactics. They made it into sideboard. But if I get another really good card or good control card, they will probably exit the deck completely. Like Karametra's Blessing has. So, let's look at our lineup. We have got Alcide Bounty. Now at 2, a really good card. Always will be for the deck. Just because it's our only... This is our actual 1-drop. We do have another 1 mana card, but it's not a creature, it's an aura. And the fact it gives us protection from something. So that just gives us good stuff. Of course, the 2 Daxos, our 4 Sunlight. Nothing really changed there. Our 2 Taranika, the 3 Eidolons. Again, most of the creatures have stayed the same. So I'll only mention the things that have massively changed. Along with the one thing I forgot to mention about Daybreak Chimera, which is why we still run a 4 of it. Not only is it cost X less for Devotion to White, the thing that's caught someone, and this was against our Sultai player with their Planeswalker deck, it's where flying is. On every other card, you'll notice, if it has a keyword ability, for example, Taranika Vigilance and stuff like that, or Alcide's Lifelink, it's at the top. For some reason, they printed Daybreak Chimeras at the bottom, and it caught someone out. So, I don't know why Wizards did it for just this one card, but yeah, it's caught them out quite considerably. Moving on, we have, of course, Big Boy Heliod Sun Crowned. We pulled one. We pulled the big boy. Off you go, cat. Even the cat's excited about Heliod. Heliod Sun Crowned. This was one of the cards when going into it. It's like, if we could manage to get even one of these, it makes the deck so much more powerful. Because we're always going to at least have our Devotion to White is easy to get on with. It's a 5/5 indestructible, and it's whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature or champion you control. It means that we can make the deck go insane. So, that's one of the major changes. The other major changes, of course, is we've got a second Heliod's Punishment that has gone into the main deck. 2 Sentinel Eyes. Instead of our Inspiring, because it's a 1/1 +1/+1 and has Vigilance along with Escape, so it means that we can kind of buff through when we need that little extra push, and we used it already, we kind of can get it back. The Birth of Meletis is actually in the main deck as well as a one-off, only because it just means that we can actually take a bit more of a riskier hand. If we had 2 mana and Birth of Meletis and a few 3 mana cards, we can actually take that hand now. Because I was finding when I was playing it, if I had a 2 mana hand, I normally had to mull back. Even if I had some really good cards like Sunlight Hoplite, Daxos and Taranika, just because We need to hit that 3 mana to make this thing work. Realistically, 3 mana is where we start going off, especially now with Heliod and Taranika. Well, especially with Heliod. But it also means that Daybreak Chimera can activate a little bit easier, because most of the time we'll only ever pay 2 mana for Daybreak. We never play retail cost of 5 mana for him. If we do, something's gone massively wrong. So that's why having Birth of Meletis is really good. The other card, I've mentioned our creature lineup, Lagana Band Storyteller, is actually a pretty interesting card. I didn't notice it in our first set of pulls, but we've now got 3 of them. It's worth a try. So it's a 4 mana 3/4. So its stats are kind of clunky. But when it enters the battlefield, I may put a target enchantment card from my graveyard on top of the deck. And if I do, I gain life equal to its converted mana cost. It means that we can recycle our Dreadful Apathies, our Banishing Lights, our Heliod's Punishments. And if for any reason Heliod or Daxos, especially Heliod, but Daxos or Alseid goes into our graveyard, we have a way of restoring it and getting them back. Then just to round it out, the 3rd Banishing Light is now in our graveyard, is now in the main deck. And we have our 4 Dreadful Apathies. It was at 2 in week 2. Week 3 we're going to have the 4 of. Essentially the idea is that the deck is being very controlling with our non-creature cards. So it's trying to make sure that our opponent can't push through while we're setting up a really decent board state. That's really where we're going with it right now. It's more of a go wide strategy than anything else, because white doesn't have access from Theros to a lot of really big white creatures. I mean, one of our biggest ones is Heliod, so we're really good to get Heliod. The rest of it, we get a couple 3/3s. For example, we've got 3 of them there. And then Victory's Envoy, I don't really count it as a 3/3 because it's 3/3 for 5 is more the power, the ability we're taking. But we don't really get anything big. We don't have anything like the gods, the titans for this deck. We can't really play any of the other colours. It would be cool if we could splash in one of the other colours, but to be honest, it makes the mana base so unstable. Now, when it comes to this, basic lands don't count, so if I needed basic lands, I can use them, but it's the rest of the lands which is where there's a problem. So keeping it in Mono White Devotion is probably the best way forward. So that is the deck going into week 3. This is what we're going to be playing with. We're going to see how we play it with this. I'm thinking it will do pretty well, not just because of Heliod, but I think the addition of the removal package, or the control package, will make this just a lot more of an easier time to fight against more of our bigger creatures. It does still have issues probably with Planeswalkers, but the 3 Banishing Light definitely helps it. But for week 3, so this is all the week 3 stuff. We now have to think about where we want to go for week 4, which is what cards do we want to do? We can of course keep going with Theros. Theros does have a few other kind of interesting things we can try and pick up. We can try and pick up another Heliod, maybe another Taranika. The other thing we can also try and go for, especially with Theros as a pack as a whole, we can see if we can try and get the other Elspeth. The other Elspeth is actually really good. I don't think for this deck it's going to be as useful as Undaunted Hero, just because it doesn't have much. It's more of an aggressive card. It's not really a controlling card like Undaunted Hero is, but it's still a really good Planeswalker. However, this is now where we got the issue. We can pick up Throne of Eldraine theme boosters as well. So we do have the option of going into Throne of Eldraine with mono whites, because there is a couple of really interesting cards that we can pick up there. So we can pick up Linden, which is a legendary for triple white, which is whenever a white creature attacks, you gain a life. That will trigger quite nicely with Heliod. It would be kind of a cool card to kind of go in this deck, but it is a rare, so it's going to be kind of hard to try and find it, and it'd probably be at least a 2 of. It might even replace Taranika. It might be that good. But again, we're then growing into Throne of Eldraine, and I don't remember off the top of my head if there's anything else that's really good for Throne of Eldraine. The other one, of course, is we can go into M20, which could have some interesting pieces that we could pick up. I'm probably going to steer clear of the Ravnica stuff, mainly because it was all based around dual colour pairing. So while we can get theme boosters of them, they are based around 2 colours. So it'd mean that we have a chance of getting our rares or our uncommons being unplayable for us. We need to kind of stick with packs that can give us a predominant white stuff for our collection, and then go from there. But tell me what you think. If you think we could potentially go, splice into a dual colour deck via the Ravnica packs, by all means tell me. If you think there's a product that we could pick up that would be really good for this set, that I haven't mentioned or I'm not aware of, by all means shout them at me. And I'll see you for Week 3's matches.